You've come to the right spot. It's another edition of Lewis at Large. 60 minutes of smart talk radio is in your future, with guests from all walks of life and all points of view. And now, with this week's edition of Lewis at Large, here's your host, Warner Lewis.
Welcome, everybody, to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck. And that means, of course, Smart Talk Radio once again is in your future, and this segment is going to be a good one as well. We always deliver here. We're going to be talking to Heather Shook. She is an interesting person, to say the least. She is the CEO and founder of the leading celebrity child's brand, Glama Jamma, and she is the creator and editor of a mom community website, which we will talk about. And she has recently put out an interesting work about balancing work and your human life, the Working Mom's Manifesto, how to stop hoping for happiness and start creating it. And we are happy to have her. Heather, how are you, my friend?
Oh, hello. I'm doing very good, and I'm excited about being here and chatting with you.
Well, thank you very much. We've been looking forward to this. We have had sort of working mom advice people on before, but my sense is here. You are not only are you're a working mom, but you've also created a very successful company. And what I would like to do for our listeners, if we could, Heather, is take us back to the day when you made the decision and what circumstances led you to develop and found Glama Jamma.
Okay, well, actually, I'm coming right up on my 10-year anniversary of launching Glama Jamma. I launched it in September of 2003. I was a first-time mom, and I thought I was a career woman. I was working as a stockbroker at a securities firm, and I was planning on taking my maternity leave and going back to work, and putting my son in daycare. But, once you have that little one in your arms, things can change rather quickly. And I realized that, I didn't want to put him in daycare. I didn't want someone else to raise him, and that I wanted to try to find a way, anything possible to be able to stay with him and, really be able to fulfill my personal goals of being a stay-at-home engaged mom, but yet still be able to satisfy my professional goals of having a career that was, fulfilling to me professionally. So after some trial and error with, testing out franchises and, all those get-rich schemes out there, I had been crafting these clothes for him and just, out of my spare time. I grew up in a crafty household, and it was just a hobby of mine to make clothes. Well, next thing I know, at these play dates in the playground, moms were asking me, where did you get these clothes? Oh, my goodness, I want to get one. And it ended up, I was literally selling baby clothes out of the trunk of my car. It's the classic American entrepreneur story. And it was very accidental, but it was a perfect fit. And it's one of those aha moments where the right answer is just right in front of you. It's just a matter of realizing it. And so I decided to really throw myself into what it meant to be a baby clothing designer and what it meant to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any business experience, and so it was a lot of trial and error. I learned from the school of hard knocks. And, over the past 10 years, we progressed from, me selling out of the trunk of my car to being a multi-million-dollar worldwide lifestyle brand that you can buy at retailers such as JCPenney, Sears, Target, Bye Bye Baby. Quite a few. So it's been a very interesting progression over the years, and I've learned a lot, especially when it comes to work-life balance.
Yeah. Hey, Heather, let me ask you this. You said you were in the securities business before. Interesting to me that you're trying to balance work, family, and just your own health, everything else. Do you think if Glama Jamma was not around and you had gone back to work at some point with children at your former securities job, what are you working harder at? I'm just curious. Is work more intense now as the CEO and founder of a company, or was it more intense back working for someone else?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, going back to those days, I mean, I was, you know, it was going to be a lot. It was a lot of hustle because I was young and just getting started, and it was, you know, very easily the 60 to 80 hour work weeks. And being a stockbroker, there is an entrepreneurial aspect to it. I think the position I'm in right now as the CEO and founder of my own company is easier for me. I shouldn't say easier, but it's a lot more realistic for me to have work-life balance in this position, you know, compared to being in the stockbroker role, because I was dictated by the markets. So when the markets were open, I had to be working. Where the position I'm in right now, I have more flexibility over my time.
Right. Even though, so to speak, on the pecking order, you're the company, or you're it. I mean, you're the CEO. Right. Everyone looks to you. It's right. Still, it probably is also, I would guess, much more labor of love.
Yes. And you know, it's important. You know, it's all about, you know, I don't want to sound like just some cheesy, you know, pop psychology tagline, but I mean, you really have to find something that you're passionate about, and then it's defining what is your genuinely worthwhile work, because it's, you know, when we talk about work-life balance, if people want to, you know, it's like there's this imaginary line where you can compartmentalize the two worlds. That you know, if you can just make this complete cutoff at 5 p.m., that you've solved the, you know, the big question of how do you, you know, find work-life balance. And it's just not true. The work-life balance is a myth. And really what it comes down to is having control in your life, having control over your work and having control over your life. There's plenty of times in our lives. I mean, I know I certainly can think of it, and I'm sure you can too, where you know, there was important moments in your career that you were working day and night for, you know, living off of peanut butter sandwiches, and you loved it. I mean, it was invigorating, and you were doing something you were passionate about, and it was, you know, it was a positive thing in your career. So it's not just working the long hours. It's when you're forced to do that, working day and night, living off of peanut butter for something that you don't want to do, that you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you don't see how this is going to really catapult you and fulfill you. Right. That's what sucks the life out of us.
How much, and again, I apologize. So this, of course, this is an interview show, so we ask questions. It does talk in notes and a little bit in the book about how so many things were suffering. You had some unexplained neurological illness. It also said your marriage was ending. Did you, in fact, that marriage end, or were you able to pull that out, or tell us about that?
No, my marriage did end. And one of the things that I talk about in the book, you know, the first chapter is, you know, really there was a perfect storm of things that was going around. And it was a moment for me where I think it's true for all of us. I mean, I'm very candid in sharing, my dirty laundry and all the skeletons in my closet, that had really unconsciously dictated some of the decisions I was making in my life and making in my business that were literally sucking the life out of me. There was things that I needed to address that were taking away from my happiness that I hadn't. And, these things happen to us, and then we move forward. Well, in my situation, my decision to get married I wasn't in the right state of mind to make that decision. And I had spent several years in a toxic relationship trying to make it work. But, I mean, at the end of the day, two wrongs don't make a right. And that was something that was very difficult for me because it wasn't in alignment with my values. And, divorce wasn't something I believed in. But, there was several things, and I go into great depth in the book.
Yeah.
I spent several years in a toxic situation because I thought it was in the best interest of the kids, and only to have a moment where my young daughter at the moment is asking me these questions. We're watching this movie, and these two people are kissing, and her question is, Mommy, how come you and Daddy don't do that? Is that because you're married? Do married people not do that?
Right.
I mean, and it just ripped my heart out. I realized all the sacrificing that I had been doing, for the good of the kids and the good of the family, it wasn't good for anybody. And I really had to, dig deep and do a lot of soul searching. And and find answers. And for me, it ended up that the reality was, as I was going to have to make the family dysfunctional for me to be able to get to a point where I could make it functional.
Again, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. Special guest this segment is Heather Shook. She is a working mom indeed, and she has put together an interesting piece called The Working Mom's Manifesto, How to Stop Hoping for Happiness and Start Creating It. She is the CEO and founder of Glamma Jamma, and also has worked very hard to put together not only some advice, but also some personal anecdotes about her own life, the mix that many women face of how do I balance work, career, family, and just my own personal, the things I'm working on personally. Heather, I'm curious, from the women that you admired growing up as a young girl, who did you look to and who were your examples, and did you draw from them at all in making some of these decisions?
Wow. Some of my early idols were, funny enough, it was Zig Ziglar had a big impact in my life. No stinking thinking and see you at the top. I was enrolled in his classes at a very young age, a summer camp, and that really resonated with me. And my background is actually in psychology. I got a degree from the University of Texas at Austin in psychology, and I worked at a psychiatric treatment home for several years, handling the care of, severe psychosis, post-acute brain injuries. And for me, at such a young, impressionable age, starting college, then taking on this role with, you're really faced with the realities of life. And I think it really grounded me and really made me think about how it all worked and what decisions I was making. And it made me a lot more mindful of, just really, hearing everyone's story and trying to think about and making me, ultimately a lot more introspective and aware. And so I've always been a student of life. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about putting together this book and my website, theworkingmommanifesto.com, is that I've been able to chat with so many other women that have gone through exactly what I went through and, have their own, share their own story, to start some real conversations about what work life means. I mean, one of the women I interviewed, Nancy Zars, she has, she went through a lot of struggles, and she has a, wildly famous children's toy company right now. But I mean, she went to a point where she was even skipping her cancer treatments to go to meetings. Wow. Because she didn't want her business to, she thought it was, critical for her business. Now, you and I can hear that and be like, well, why are you so worried about your business? You're facing a life and death decision right here. If you're dead, your business doesn't matter. But for her, skipping cancer treatments was more important than missing this business appointment. And that is how skewed, we've become in a lot of regards towards work-life balance. And the research that just came out, the Better Life Index, the United States scored 28 for work-life balance. But yet we're number one for income. And, we're a superpower, but we're certainly, it wasn't super how we got there. I mean, the reality is we are working extremely long hours on work that isn't really fulfilling. Job satisfaction isn't there, and what we're doing isn't working. But we're so ingrained in this machine that the gears keep turning that it's hard to get unstuck. And that's really something that I battled with. I mean, with my company, and like you mentioned earlier, I was dealing with, I was under so much stress. It's physical, psychological, emotional, hormonal, after having, I had 3 children during this whole process. And my body was literally shutting down. I was having, this unexplained neurological illness where I was dealing with paralysis, loss of vision. I couldn't speak. I'd have trouble standing. They were trying to put me on disability. I was seeing countless neurologists. I was a guinea pig. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And, in a leap of faith, I ended up, kind of looking towards outside to non-traditional medicine. And, one of my doctors suggested, have you ever tried acupuncture? And I was, skeptical, but at this point, nothing else was working. I mean, what did I have to lose? And it was funny. When I met with that acupuncturist, she was the first person who really stood back and started asking me all these questions and really, painted this picture that I was under so much stress. My body was literally shutting down. And once I had that awareness, I was able to, integrate a biofeedback program to where I was a lot more attuned to my body and understanding when my stress levels were going up. And I started cutting out, no more 80-hour work weeks. I made my, diet and exercise a priority. It was no longer something, a bonus at the end of the day if I had enough time. It was first priority. As soon as I woke up, I was working out and I had a healthy breakfast. And it's those things that are so critical to our happiness and our well-being but they get pushed aside because we're drawn to this 24/7 lifestyle of, checking our phone every 5 seconds with a sense of urgency that, we might be missing something. I have to get ahead. I have to do this. That we're so eager to get to that next big moment that we completely miss the moment that we are in. And as a mom, that's crucial. I mean, I don't want to wake up and have missed my children's childhood. I don't want to feel like I failed them as a mom. I mean, it doesn't matter how successful my career is, failing at a mom, it won't be worth it. And really, work-life balance isn't about having more spare time or more free time. It's about having a life with no regrets.
What about, Heather, the role or the lives that the husbands go through? Do you think they go through the same thing, or from your perspective, how is it different?
I've seen it, and the statistics show it too. I mean, it's not any easier for the dads. I mean, another thing that that was on the Better Life Index that just came out is 16% of working dads are working extremely long hours, which is into the the 60-hour range. I mean, you can put two and two together and realize that is weakening the family dynamic when the dad isn't allowed to be involved with the family because he is trying to provide and forced to work these ridiculously long hours. I think that we have gone through a transition where it's not the 1950s stereotype where the dad just works all day and then wants to sit down in the recliner and have his dinner put before him and the kids were just something nice to look at. I don't think it's that dynamic anymore. I think that it's more about co-parenting, and I think that dads want to be involved with their children. They want to have, that paternal leave after the baby's born. But unfortunately, it's, I don't think that a lot of the companies have caught up with it, and I think that it's definitely a struggle. I think that work-life balance isn't just something that working moms have to deal with. I think that it's something that is an issue for the entire family dynamic.
Heather, we've got people listening going, okay, she's hardworking, she's articulate, she's bright, she's had some choices. Fortunately, she started her own company. So I am going to get up tomorrow morning. I'm going to take a shower, get the kids off to school, and then I'm going to race to my own job as an administrative assistant where I really don't control my schedule. And, so how do I change things? How do I what's the first step? And in this case, let's just limit it to working mothers. Okay. What's the first thing you think they should do?
A critical component to really taking back control is the work choices that you make. And as an administrative assistant, you are forced into a situation where you are forced to be accountable 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And I think I think there are ways to get around that. But I do think that you need to be creative. I mean, one of the things you could do is, the world with technology, I mean, we have virtual work environments. Is there a situation where you could, work half days and, do part of it virtually, the other half you're in the office? Another thing is co-working. Is there someone else that you could work Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at the office? The other person works Tuesday, Thursday, but then you're able to do, on those days off that you have Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're able to work on something that you have more control over. And and then there's also the opportunity of, starting your own business. Instead of working for the corporation environment as an administrative assistant, there is plenty of, extremely successful virtual assistants. I mean, with technology and the way things have been moving overhead isn't always a good thing. And there is plenty of companies, just like myself. As an entrepreneur, I run a multi-million-dollar company out of my home. And I work with virtual assistants. I don't rely on someone maintaining an office environment Monday through Friday,
right,
9 to 5. And there are plenty of other people out there like me, and there's resources like flexjobs.com that you can log into, and there is a database of people just like me who are looking for virtual administrative assistants.
Heather, how would, and again, we're talking to Heather Shook, and she is the CEO and founder of Glamma Jamma, internationally known line of clothing, and she's done a tremendous job, obviously, and now we've got the full balance going for her. Heather, how would if we had an interview with your kids, if I said, tell us about mom, describe your mother, what would they say? What would they say about mom?
Oh, well, we're extremely close, and they would probably tell you that I'm a little goofy. I'm a lot of fun, and that they're my priority. We're very close, and the kids are also. I think one of the things that's important as an entrepreneur is as you're balancing work and life, especially with me in a home environment. I mean, I'm raising my kids while I'm running my business. And I think a crucial component of that is communication and involving your children in what you do. The business isn't this, redheaded stepchild that, takes mommy away from them. They know exactly what I'm doing. And they see mommy, sketch out designs for baby clothes. They know when mommy has to go to an appointment that I'm going to try to sell those clothes that they saw me sketch out. They know when I'm going to be on a radio show talking, and then when I walk into stores like Target and they can see the line, they remember it from, 9 months to a year ago when mommy was first sketching it out. And so they feel it's a family business. They're very in tune with what I do.
Right.
And there's also a lot of mutual respect. They know that I value their needs, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for them to do the little things that make them happy, and they're always happy to, and just like now when I told them I was going to jump on a call. They're excited. They want to be able to hear it, and they scurry off, and they're outside playing, waiting for mommy to get off the phone. And then as soon as I get off, they're going to ask me a bunch of questions. How did it go? What did y'all talk about? And it's exciting for them too. And it really is about the family and us working together. And so it's something that pulls us together instead of rips us apart. And I think that's critical.
Yeah.
When it comes to balancing.
And again, we're talking about the book, we're talking about your career, but in light of all this, the next thing is, the inevitable question is, Heather